Welcome to another edition of the 1% Better podcast with your host, Rob O'Donoghue.
All right, guys. So I'm going to get you on the Imagine trip. Imagine you're on a walk with a loved one and you are not taking off the tasks on your to-do list. You are fully present, you're engaged, and you're enjoying the conversation with the person you're walking. Not too long ago, I wish I was the person who could just easily switch off and be fully in and enjoy my time. I wasn't. Most of the time I wasn't. But with the discovery of the book I'm reviewing today, Make Time and How to Focus on What Matters Every Day by Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky, I am seeing really solid, continuous, tangible results. So first, how did I come about reading and adopting the findings of this book? So as most of us living through this time of global pandemic, having a little bit of extra time to actually reflect on things, on purpose of life, on what truly matters, after I've done my reflection, what came out is that I really wanted to focus on things that were important to me professionally, but both personally as well. So given the importance of task, usual me, I kind of gone through all the interesting books in time management and productivity that I've read in the past, trying to summarize, put some framework, only to discover that actually my favorite creator, Dr. Ali Abdul from Cambridge, very famous and successful YouTuber, he's reviewed this book called Make Time, and the framework I was looking for already actually existed. So I was very happy to discover this, that authors Jake Knapp, John Zeratsky, they've written this book with excellent framework after their first book, New York bestseller, called Sprint, was adopted by the most known organizations in the world, like NASA, Google, Harvard University, Gartner. They've done it quite successfully, and they help those organizations to reset their operating defaults, helping them to make time. So, Make Time framework that they lifted from their first successful book, Sprint. I adopted the findings, and today I'm going to share and review this book in the following way. I'm planning to give you my overall impression and how the book changed me, very briefly. Then I will explain what is actually making us busy, how the author is explaining this busyness that we all experience in day to day. Then I will go on to the very simple, in the core of this book, 4-step framework. And under the 4-step framework, there are 87 tactics that authors explain in the book. We are not going to go through all 87. I'm going to go through the ones that were really impactful and tested by me, by my family, by my friends, and the ones that I kind of found, probably be really, really useful for most of people. So that's what I'm planning to do. And when I'm going to do that, guys, I think it will make sense that, I'll pause after each tactic, and if you feel it's relevant, please join in and we have a good, interesting discussion. So this is the construct of my review. So my overall impression first. So the books that I've read on productivity and time management, they're quite famous, well-known, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, Getting Things Done by David Allen, 168 Hours, You Have More Time Than You Think by Laura Vanderkam, and 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss. So they were absolutely excellent, and they were the books that I initially tried to kind of summarize and get them into the framework. Make Time by Jake and John is the book that contributed most to me managing my time better and being able to switch off when I needed to switch off, and being able to just focus on truly what mattered to me. And why? The main reason is that it's very simple. It's very, very simple framework that it could be tailored to anyone, basically, because what the authors do, they give you a framework based on the success of the sprint that they've tested many times on the best companies, and since the best companies in the world adopted. But also they take into account the habits, routines, body goals, and priorities that are unique to us. So really, it's just, that's, to me, is success. What makes this book so successful, because it's simple and it's so flexible and it's so forgiving. Because once you fail today, you can do the same tomorrow. It's not like, you fail, it's like doesn't work. So that's the key, right? For me, it helped me to do all those things that I've said, but also more tangibly, it helped me to actually eventually realize that I don't want to do the consulting work full-time. I want to do it part-time. And kind of gave me confidence to say, okay, from now on, I'm only taking part-time consulting contracts because I want to do my own, projects. And it helped me to, again, get the courage to do my own video content. That was like extremely scary last year. It gave me courage to start my own blog. And, it's just like this book sort of was that tipping point that said, okay, that's actually doable. You everyone can find time for those things that matters every day. So that's kind of my overall impression. What is making us busy? What is really making us busy? I think authors, the way they answer this question by introducing two concepts is excellent. So they're explaining that what is making us busy is this busy bandwagon thing. What they call bandwagon is that we all very proud to wear this badge of I am so incredibly busy, and yet we kind of squeezing in too many things in a day because we're fearing if we slow down, we would miss out. That's what most of people do. And, I was one of them. I'm still not fully there. Haven't figured out all of it, but that's really the thing that resonated a lot with me, this busy bandwagon. And another one is the infinity pools. So what Jake and John call infinity pools is this pool of infinite information that surrounds us, that distracts us, social media, news, all the boozing devices and so on, Netflix, they're available 24/7. So there are the two concepts that authors introduced to explain what is making us busy. So in terms of this very simple 4-step framework, it's worth mentioning that authors are very well qualified to introduce this framework and explain it, because not only they former employees of Gmail, former employees of Google, they were behind Gmail, they were behind YouTube. They're extremely efficient in what they were doing, but they were also the very people that designed those apps, the infinity pools, that are so sticky. It's so difficult for us to say no, and we are spending our time using them. So that's their unique advantage. So what they've done, they, as I said, they lifted the Sprint book, New York bestseller, first book, Sprint Process Principles. They experimented with the habits and routines themselves, but they also tested hundreds of tactics with the early adopters. So with really simple changes, authors learned that it's possible to redesign time in such a way that anyone could get more focus, can get great attention, better energy, and truly focus on things that matter every day. So I'm going to show you. So the framework is, I don't know, guys, if you'll be able to see. It's a highlight. And the hypothesis behind the highlight is that if you start every day with highlighting that one thing professionally or personally that matters to you today, you have much higher chance to actually accomplish it. Now, personally, work-related, I wouldn't be able to get away just with one thing. I try to have 2 or 3, right? So that's really highlight, and we'll go in depth. For now, just run through it. The laser one is if you put the barriers between the infinity pools, between the social media, between everything that distracts you and pulls you in, if you put the barriers, you're able to laser focus on the highlight. What underpins the laser focus and where most of humans in the modern world get it wrong, and it was me, with this inability to switch off, we don't let ourselves to be energized properly, to be at the top of our performance, to really concentrate on what matters. So energize is really underpinning the laser. And then the really important one, the secret sauce, authors call it, is the reflect. And reflect is that it's like a little mini sprint. Each day you reflect. How did you get on? Did you have your highlights? Did you pick it up? Did you focus well on the scale from 1 to 10? Did you really do it well? What kind of tactics helped you? Were you energized properly? And really having this information recorded, like in 2-minute survey. That's really what that is. So what I'm going to do, guys, in the next 10 minutes, I will go through the tactics behind each of the 4 steps of the framework that really worked well for me, for my family, for my friends. And I'm just going to pause after each. So it'd be nice if you can share if something resonates with you, or you've tried, or you've been trying for a long while. So first we're starting with highlight. So with the highlight, by the way, just a little reminder, there are 87 tactics in the book. What authors advise that you treat it as a recipe book. When you read it, you pick what works with you, what you like, what works with your supplies, with your individual needs, and then you try them. And then the reflect stage actually helps you then adopt the ones that are the most impactful and make them your habits. Okay. So on the highlight, tactic that works very well with me, and I've been doing it for a long while, in fairness, to give a credit to Tim Ferriss, listening his podcast and reading his book, the tactic is called write it down. Make it your daily rituals that you write it down, what that one thing, what is your highlight of the day, basically. And Tim Ferriss is asking it in a way of a question. If you could do only one thing today, what would make this day great? So I have that question in my Apple device. I kind of try to have each day by looking at it and writing down a couple of words. What would I want that one thing to be? The authors, one of them, I think Jake, just used the yellow sticky note. That's his routine when he's having breakfast, and that works for him. Extremely simple, but works. Number 4. So number 4 tactic is batch the little stuff. Now, it's hard to know that there is a bunch of stuff needed to be done. It's hard to concentrate on one highlight when you know there's a lot of small ones. So, for example, for me, I have to do my own bookkeeping for my company. I used to just kind of do them here and there, but then when I started to kind of batch them, I know that there's a day and I just have to do this boring job, but this is one day and it will be done. So it certainly works with me, and it worked as well, I'm trying to batch my email response to 2 or 3 times per day rather than each time email coming in. So that worked with me. Number 7, run an individual sprint. So what that is, for the guys not familiar with sprint methodology, is that when our brain is a little bit like a computer, you load all the information to your working memory, and then if you work on one thing in 1 week sprint, you're trying to accomplish, you're much more efficient getting focused on that one thing, whether it's say if it's not work related, I'd be doing, for example, my video editing, and I would have all the files and everything, all the media, and the computer is open, hard drives and everything is plugged in. I'm much better, just doing it 2-3 days in a row. First day could be completely unproductive. We're just kind of getting everything and trying to think and script and maybe narrate. But then the second and the third, I get most input. So that's the idea behind the run an individual sprint. Number 7 is schedule your highlight. So scheduling works very well too. If you get that slot in the calendar, and that this is the time to do your highlight. So the example author gives, his personal highlight one day was that he wanted to cook for his family. And being in Google Ventures, he found that he was much more successful if he actually scheduled that at 5 p.m. he absolutely must leave, because at 6 he will then cook, and at 7 his children go to bed, and it just makes us a little bit more likely to stand up at the meeting that is overrunning and say, I gotta go, that's it. Now, I haven't tried personally myself, but I know that it works when it's scheduled a little bit better. Number 10, bulldoze your calendar. So we all kind of live in this culture that we sort of by default saying yes to all the invitations. However, quite a lot of those meeting invitations unnecessarily take, say, for example, an hour overtime or an hour overtime this week. They're quite okay to actually put them off, ask the person who's scheduled to put them off, or ask the person scheduled to shorten it to half an hour. Quite a lot of people be actually happy with this. So this is the tactic number 10. Number 12, just say no. So the best way to get out of low priority is just to say no. It doesn't come naturally for most of us. I know for me it was quite liberating to actually learn to say no. But once I did, no going back. Okay, design your day is the tactic number 13. So Jake was one of the authors. Jake Knapp was admiring the productivity of the lady Sarah Cooper, who used to work in Google, and then she left to became the full-time writer and comedian. And naturally, Jake went to Sarah to ask her productivity, time management advice when he was leaving the company. So her advice was schedule everything on your calendar. Design your day and schedule everything you want on your calendar. That actually was the moment Jake realized that there actually is enough hours in the day to get stuff done. And he adopted and adjusted, and it worked with him. Number 16, quit when you're done. Now, this is the last one of the first step of the highlight step. This is probably, for me, it was the most important one. It can be hard to stop work at the end of the day because our busy bandwagon, just one more thing, just one last task. And what's happening to us, we actually drive ourselves into exhaustion, like majority of us, So what the guys are sharing is that when they were running sprints and everybody was working on this problem and there was such a high level of intensity, they were working with the teams of people, and they actually had a sprint, like a miniature project running from Monday to Friday every week. The guys measured the team level of energy, and they noticed that even like cutting teams' time to 30 minutes resulted in their level of happiness, productivity being so much better. So they actually ended up finishing like 5 p.m. sharp, and nobody would ever stay late or anything like this. So it's really important just knowing when you gotta finish. So I was saying that I would give you a bit of a pause so you can jump in, but I'm looking at the time now, and I think I just better plow through. Declan, what do you think? The steps, and then we will have a discussion. Or would you prefer to have a little bit of discussion after each maybe framework step?
Yeah, I think crack on, and we'll do the wrap up at the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Great, yeah.
Okay. So we're into laser. I'm just going to show you framework. Oh, this is another one I was drawing. Okay, so we're now into the laser, second step of the framework. So the central premise of the laser step is that you create the barriers around the busy bandwagon and infinity pools. So by doing that, you focus as a laser beam on the things that truly matter to you. The important information here, factual information, is that Apple reports that people unlock their iPhone on average 80 times per day. And 2016 study by customer research from Discount found that people touch their phone on average 2,617 times per day. In this world, willpower alone is not enough. That was quite a revelation. Yeah, I was trying to rely on my willpower, and I was failing, and it was just very refreshing to learn that willpower is simply not enough. And why authors help build sticky infinity pools. They know this industry from the inside out, and they have a good idea why it's so irresistible. And that's why they are given the tactics that I'm going to get through. So the number 20, clear your home screens. Oh, I used to just have so much stuff on my screen. And quite often I would find I would get, just before go where I need to, I just check this quickly. No, it gives this tiny moment of quietness. If you open your phone and you have stuff, so I'm using iPhone, so I have stuff in the folders. So on my home screen, I just have the navigation and, the phone. And there's nothing else. Then if I go to second, third screen, then I have all the stuff. 32, turn distraction into tools. It's just like Simon Sinek is asking us to always ask why, right? And that's the same thing. If you ask yourself why you're using Twitter, why you use Instagram, and if there is an intention behind it, and you're not mindlessly scrolling through it, then it's fine. It's fine. You're doing it for a purpose, for your highlight of the day, for your research. Number 35, schedule email time. So I am scheduling email times now, and it does help. The tactic that is quite famous, that if it takes you 2 minutes to do something, just do that. It doesn't work. Certainly for me, it doesn't work in this full of distraction world. Like with email, I found if it's coming in, I better just do it when I have the time allocated to do it, rather than just here and there, unless there's an emergency. And if there's an emergency, then there's a very good tactic. The next one, it's called reset expectations. So when you limit email time and increase your response time, I think it's a good courtesy to let people know, is verbally communicate to them when you see them, or on your autoresponder to tell them that if there is an emergency, you call my mobile. Otherwise, I'll respond to your email end of the day, tomorrow, whatever is the time. So just resetting those expectations. Number 43, don't watch the news. It's incredibly inefficient, anxiety-provoking stories that are handpicked to keep you tuned in. I am not watching news daily. Certainly not. Like I found that if there's a big news, it finds me anyway. I just I find that I get emotionally too tuned in, and quite often they're anxiety provoking. So that's another good thing. Really believe in that. Number 60, go all in. So that's the last one of the laser step of the framework, and this one is called wholeheartedness. So what authors mean is that do something where you're fully committed, where you enjoying it, where you're throwing yourself with all the enthusiasm. They don't advocate that you leave your work and you do what you're passionate about. It's not. It's just that their advice is that if you find the pockets of time to do something that we're truly passionate, whatever that is, in a day, it just makes us feel alive. And that's the number 60. Then we off to the energize step. And that's the one that underpins the laser. So the one, I don't know, guys, you see it. So we're into energize. And energize, what authors try to research for this one, they've gone through so much literature, and there's so much available on the well-being and fitness, only to realize that actually 99% of our energy is explained by our ancestors. And the thing is here that 200,000 years, we hardly changed. We just were there as a hunter and gatherers. And only in the last 10,000 years, since the advent of the agriculture, everything changed for us. So literally, we still have this body of the prehistoric man, but live in the modern world. So what the authors propose is that if we live every day a little bit more like prehistoric man, we'd be so much better to be energized, to have better well-being. And tactics here are quite simple. Certainly for me, because I've read quite a few good books about health and fitness. I'll go very quickly. So this 61, exercise every day. Don't be a hero, just do a little bit. We're designed to walk. 62, just, go out for a walk there. 63, inconvenience yourself, use the stairs. 64, squeeze in super short workout. So 67 is the stay hungry. I've been actually testing this on myself for a number of years now, and so is most of the guys in my family, except children. We don't eat breakfast. Very rarely we do. So the first meal would be the lunch, and then the second meal would be the dinner. And what we noticed is that we actually have much less of the infectious, like flu and the rest, and colds. So this one is tested. And the explanation is that, as a hunter-gatherers, we had to get up and go and get the food. So we didn't really eat breakfast, what the Kellogg's and other companies are selling to us on the television. Not really true. And there's plenty of research to support that, fasting, intermittent fasting, makes our mind clear and sharp. And in my case, if I am to do writing or kind of a deep thinking of the big problem, I know the morning is the best when I'm hungry. Lunch, after lunch, no, not really. So number 70, wake up before caffeine. Okay, if you were to remember, guys, just one thing beside the framework, that would be the one. I don't drink coffee personally, but what my friends are telling me, the one that are coffee drinkers, the one that tested this, it's quite revolutionary. So what that is, we have the natural hormones that are waking us up. So as soon as you wake up, most of the people drink coffee as soon as they wake up. What happens, we have the cortisol a hormone that is helping to wake us up first 2 hours. So when you drink coffee, first of all, the effect is very, very small. And second, it clashes with the hormones. So it could interfere with the sleep and the rest. So if you try to wait for at least an hour after wake up before drinking coffee, you will actually feel yourself much more energized, get better kick out of that coffee, and you will feel better and you should sleep better. There's another thing, this whole book, Why We Sleep, actually explains very well. I've read that one as well. So if you stop drinking coffee, and you need to measure yourself because we're all very different. For my friends, they stop drinking coffee by 2 p.m. and they just not drink coffee after 2 p.m. Again, their sleep is much better because then the coffee doesn't clash with another hormone called adenosine. So that's a big one. So number 73, keep altitude green tea. So I'm drinking green tea and it's more steady. So that's a good one. 78, trick yourself into meditating. Oh my God, I've tried all the apps. It's just every app, from the Headspace, from there's another Synctuition is really beautiful music. It's very hard. But the thing is that if you just find a couple of minutes per day and just do breathe in, breathe out, the authors measure that their focus is so much sharper after. So that's a good one. Number 80, take a real break. I remember I was having an intensive workshop and then I had this 40 minutes break and I was straight on my phone, going into the feeds, going into the news. It doesn't give us a good break. So really what our ancestors, we need to do what the prehistoric man would do, just go for a walk, talk to us as a human who is, hopefully that as a human is a very funny and energetic person. And that will give you much more energy. And number 81, spend time with your tribe. So even most introverted of us, we are hardwired for connection. And I think a couple of sessions when I joined you, it came up that the longest study on the Harvard study on human happiness and longevity, it's a big deal because we humans, we live longer and happier life if we have a quality relationship. So now it's kind of ironic, we're the most connected world and so many humans are just so easily reached, but we are most isolated we ever been. So spending time with people where we have a good relationship and we enjoy is really, really important for us to recharge our battery and live a long, fulfilling life. Number 84, fake the sunset. Well, I've been doing it for a couple of years now with Apple devices. It's very easy. You can just set it up that everything is kind of dimmable. There's no blue light. Then I have the Philip Hue lamps. It does help really in the evening just to fake the sunset and give yourself this orange light. And I think that's pretty much So that was the energize that underpin the laser focus. So we're on to last one, which is called reflect, which is the secret sauce of the whole method, and that's how it works. So in reflect, authors use little science to tailor the system to you, your habits, your lifestyle, your preferences, and even our unique body. So what they do, they observe. So they suggest that we observe what's going on. We guess why things happen in a way that they happen, right? We experiment to test our hypothesis, and we measure. We finish with measuring. And it sounds a little scientific, right? But it's very simple if I give you the example. So that's the sheet that authors use in the end of the day. And what that is, maybe it's too small, guys, I'll read it. It's literally like, okay, so my highlight was to cook the dinner for my family. Did you do it? Yes or no? Okay, the guy did. What was my laser focus on the scale from 1 to 10? In his case, 6. How was the energy? So it's literally all the steps that we've gone through. The energy was like 9. Okay. What tactics? So what tactics he used? He used the tactic of doing a bit of exercise, and he had to give a 1 word, 2 words feedback, like it was short run, feeling good. Another one, distraction-free phone. And then he would write down what he's planning, what tactics he's planning to use tomorrow. And it's literally 1 or 2 without the overload. And then what he's grateful, like what was he grateful today? So it's literally this is it. This is your kind of a sheet of reflection in the end of the day. What worked, what didn't, you drop it. What worked, you adopt it, and it becomes habit because it's something that you do daily, and it's simple. So really, small shifts can put you in control. If you reduce your distractions, increase your physical and mental energy just a bit, to focus your attention on one bright spot, and we don't need to kind of have clear calendars. We just need to have 60 to 90 minutes per day to concentrate on what really matters. You'll be much more fulfilled, much more happy, and that you made the time, and that you focused on what truly mattered to you today. I would like to finish with quote, but I don't think I have time for the quote. I just want to say that the quote from authors that I wanted to read to you guys was about pivoting. In the startup world, this word is used when the company is starting to develop one app and then they pivot into something else. So, for example, the shopping tool called Toad pivoted and became Pinterest. And then a company called Audio pivoted and became Twitter. And what the authors are saying, like those companies, they pivoted themselves. They started just by trying to improve their time, trying to improve their focus. And then eventually, as they started to do that daily, they realized that really what truly one of them wanted to do, to be a writer. And he got the confidence, and he was able then to quit his job and become what he wanted. And another, all he wanted to do to be to sail from United States to Central America and enjoyed his time on the boat. He didn't want to climb corporate ladder. He just wanted to do the things that they want to do. So that was the author's pivot, and that was their message, that it all starts from the small things. And that was the book.
Well done. Any thoughts or reflections from the room?
No, it was very good, fantastic. I just had a quick look at the authors because I think they've been eavesdropping and spying on me for the last couple of years, because every single thing on the list, I was like, yeah, I like that, I do that, I do that. Like from just say no, or learn to say no, and batching your emails, and micro exercise, and everything. I was just yeah, that's cool. So
yeah.
And also that important one is saying no is on a spectrum, and in the middle of that spectrum, there's I'll come back to you tomorrow, or I'll come back to you next week. You don't have to do everything straight away.
Yeah.
That's made a huge difference to my day when I can prioritize like that.
Yeah.
And that one, John, as well, I found as well, when you don't say no, but you say come back to me next week, 90% of the time people don't come back to you then anyway. So exactly, it's not you saying no, you're putting it back on them. If it's really important, they will come back, but generally they don't.
The one I use, and I find that people take it very well, is you say, you're on my list, but you're not at the top of my list yet. I've put you on the list, or I've put that task on my list, but it's actually, to be honest, it's actually quite low down at the moment. And they might go find someone who will put that higher on the list.
Or they might not. They might actually respect you as a man who's able to say that and really caring about the quality and prioritization. Yeah.
I also love I love the piece about reflect, because of course that's how it actually makes a difference in terms of we can adjust and calibrate depending on the results we get. But a guy I know, you may be familiar with him, Andy Ramage, he's involved in the 1 year, he's just stepped back from the 1 year no beer program. And I remember listening to one of his podcasts. He was talking about that, taking 2 minutes in the evening time to assess basically how you'd done that day. And this was a self-scoring. But it was between 1 and 10, but 7 was off limits. And it's so simple, because we tend to go, yeah, that wasn't too bad. I'll give myself a 7. But if you don't have that option, well, now I'm either a 6 or an 8. Now, if I'm an 8, I better be an 8. Or if I'm a 6, gee, that's only just above 5. So it was so simple, and it has really changed how I reflect and self-score, and brings much more integrity and therefore a better result, if I may say so, just about from my own assessment of self. It means I can be genuine and truthful with myself for the next day. So I really liked that piece to reflect at the end. So thank you.
Marianna, I liked the bit that you mentioned at the start, actually, that was interesting about if you're not energized enough, or if you haven't been energized enough, you find it hard to switch off. Because I suppose, like you gave the example of your bookkeeping days, and like if I have days where if I don't talk to anybody, or, those days, and then I find it hard to actually switch off then in the evening because I haven't been stimulated enough maybe, or whatever, so I thought that was really interesting. So great summary. Thank you.
Yeah, Aoife, that's I really that was kind of my kryptonite, that I wasn't good at switching off. Some people are just natural, and it doesn't apply. Like my husband, he's just natural; he can switch off anywhere. And then you point. I had to even invest, like you see this wearable Aura rings, Aura. So this is actually trackable, and it tracks like sleep, and it tracks your heart rate variability. Like, when you probably know more about this, but it gives me the trends, and actually it does tell you if you're getting stressed and you need to invest more into your time. So it really improved my switch off.
Yeah.
If I may say as well, there was another part of it that reminded me about a book that I've bought and just haven't gotten to. I can't remember the name of the author, but it's Deep Work. Oh, yes. And it's what you were talking about, it's not necessarily just willpower. So I know for me, I have about a 1 hour and 10 minutes optimum working time. After that, I don't care enough. So I can stay at it, but actually I won't get much more done. Yeah. So just to understand that if I turn off the computer and put the phone on silent and away, I'm going to do better if I work with those 70 minutes and then do the fluffy stuff in between for a while. So thank you for this input. That is actually so powerful. The authors did share their insight into the writing. So one of them said, actually they said that for both of us, that it takes sometimes a good couple of hours to start writing since you started writing. And sometimes it takes a couple of days to produce something really meaningful and good piece of writing. For me, that was just so refreshing, because I was just sometimes, like even for my first blog, I would stare at the piece of paper and I would spend an hour and a half and thinking, haven't written a couple of sentences, but actually this is how our brain works. You're getting into, and that's why they're saying, run your own sprint. Just get into that couple of days in a row. If you do that, the authors notice, first day just a little bit, second day more, and the third day, that's when the real work happens, because everything is loaded in your memory, all the files there, and you're connecting now, you're producing something creative. So thanks for this insight. Yeah. Deep Work.
Cal Newport, that's the author of that book.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good book.
Yeah.
Marianna, as you were sharing really a comprehensive insight there, I couldn't help but go back to a book that I'd read called Irresistible, which is written by Adam Alter, and similar to what you were describing there in terms of the research, he's done a lot of research into the fact that actually the odds are stacked against us. The companies that create the apps, that create the platforms for us to do this work, are deliberately setting out to, draw us into these rabbit holes and distract us. And what fascinated me about his research was, because he'd done it into gaming as well, and how the whole Nintendo was about getting reward and then challenging you a bit more and more reward, was he drew the comparison with heroin addiction. And at first I was completely startled by it, because I thought, well, how can technology be like heroin addiction? But then when you realize how many times you're accessing your phone each day, or how much stuff you're not getting done because you're distracted, it becomes a real game changer. And I think, again, going back to what you were sharing, when you said 89 strategies or 89, I was thinking, blimey, how do you write a book with that many strategies? but then when you emphasize the fact that you have a go at them and see what works for you, and if it doesn't work, then drop it and go on to the next one, I think there's something hugely valuable in that, because what might work for me might not work for you, but might work for Dec and so on. So I found that hugely kind of insightful and inspiring in a way, to know that we're all in this together. And whilst we might not be wearing the badge of busyness, the odds are very much stacked against us. So go easy on yourself and try a few of these things and see what works for you. And Ashley as well, that 7 out of 10 for me is a game changer. Because if you can't go for 7, then you're naturally drawn to 6 or 8. And I suppose I'm interested in, do you always give yourself an 8? Or do you beat yourself up when you give yourself a 6? And then does the following day look differently? That's probably another conversation to have. But thank you very much indeed.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for this insight, Jeff. Yeah, that's what makes this book successful. That it could be so easily tailored to our own uniqueness by daily trying and testing and reflecting, and then adopting this habit that really is changing your life if you just do it day by day. And there are days that you fail, and the framework again helps, because it's forgiven. Okay, you kind of didn't do a highlight, didn't focus, stayed in the infinity pool yesterday. Well, you have a new day today. Do a bit better. So,
Marianna, this might sound remarkably simple and maybe even slightly stupid, but the one thing that landed for me was, so I've been kind of into the whole gratitude piece of, at the end of every day, let's close off and let's see what went well today. But the reframe of that in terms of the morning piece, actually waking up with an intention of what's going to make today great and going after it. For me, that's massive for me to kind of go, actually, we don't need to wait till the end of the day to kind of start scanning. Well, I had a lovely bowl of Rice Krispies this morning. Let's put that down in the journal, kind of thing. Actually, to kind of go after something and say, what would make today absolutely magic, and then go after it.
Yeah. You know what? It's one of the things that actually was the most powerful for me too. Even before I read this book, the gratitude piece. I was doing it with my children, where each evening we would say one thing that we are grateful. And I've noticed that, I became so much more happier just by doing that after a few weeks. So that became habit. And you're right, like you don't need to wait. You just kind of praise yourself for every small little bit that you do. You resisted the Instagram. You didn't scroll for 3 hours. Just give yourself a pat on the shoulder, like I used to be there. And I used to be just like, I just check those couple of trends for 10 minutes. And then my willpower will get me back into what? No, as Jeff was saying, this is just, they are designed by the brightest people in the world that works for the companies, Google, YouTube, Instagram, the rest. And because they're not physical products, working for software industry, I know how quickly they can churn out by getting the data. What is the most stickiest? What is getting our prehistoric brain to really pay attention and keep us trapped into the scrolling and watching. So, yeah.
Someone said in a few years' time, there'll be a scandal about the abuse of social media by the companies and what they knew and didn't tell us, like the tobacco companies 50 years ago. It'll be the scandal of the next 20 years. Yeah.
It could be. It absolutely could be. Yeah. There's already a program on Netflix. Anybody watch? Yeah.
Social
Okay.
Dilemma,
Great hack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Cal Newport called social media the cigarettes of the 21st century. So,
as a parent, it's very worrying, you know. Whatever about ourselves.
But I just like I'm trying to be as open with children as possible, and I simply tell him, no, we're going to finish playing this game now because this is how our brain works, and people that are selling you these tools, they want you to stay on. So we're kind of a little bit smarter than that. So let's just finish. And she's like, okay, mommy.
They're not teenagers yet, are they?
11.
Oh yeah, no, you got a bit to go. It gets worse.
Although I do remember, I think it's about 2 years ago now, certainly it's well before COVID, sitting down in the house with two other people, that's all I'll say, two other people who live here, to watch the Great Hack or the Giant, I think it's the Great Hack on Netflix, and saying, please just, I'll pay you if you sit down and watch this with me. But actually, you know what, it did give some information. I mean, it had an agenda too. That's the thing. There's always an agenda. However, it's just useful to at least create a little bit of wiggle room, is how I describe it. Because humans are amazing and we will adapt. And just like our great-grandparents were saying, oh, the television is the ruination of us all. Exactly. We'll adapt and we'll manage. It's just hard when you've grown up with the Encyclopedia Britannica as your possibility, or the local library, as opposed to the first 3 lines on Google search being your world of information. So.
Definitely. Any other insight or feedback, guys?
Did they give any kind of guideline? And it's probably not an easy one to answer, but I know you mentioned for the reflect a couple of minutes a day, the energize a few minutes a day. For the highlights, for it to be meaningful work, could you do that in 5 minutes, or are they saying it tends to be 5, half hour? Didn't really give any guidelines on that.
Everything is it has to be simple to work. So I think Jeff does the highlight work when he's drinking his coffee after an hour he woke up. As the tactic number 70 saying, and he's just jotting on the yellow sticky. This is the one thing I want to laser focus today. That's simple, literally a minute or two. And I think the John Zeratsky, he prefers to think of his highlight for the next day in the evening. Mm-hmm. So that's whatever works, and then you measure what worked better.
I guess I was thinking of it even more though, the actual highlight work itself, where that's quite an array of different things. Like, so it could be 30 minutes writing, could be my highlight for the day, or the next day could be 30 minutes doing something else. I didn't give guidelines around that.
Got you. Okay, so that actually is so there were a couple of tactics where you schedule it. You schedule the highlight work in your calendar, and really most of us do this deep work for 60 to 90 minutes. So the guidance, the tactics were to schedule in your calendar, preferably in the morning. And one tactic I remember, if you can afford to literally schedule each day your best prime time, this is your highlight time. And for the rest of us, calendar's already filled with stuff. Just find 60 to 90 minutes in a day, and this is the important task of the day. And quite often, if you get in the invitation to join some meeting and you already booked your highlight, once you I've done it. Once I explained that I cannot because I'm working on something actually important for the company, and this is the highlight of my day. That's fine. People are fine. Then okay, we'll do it next week. Does it answer your question?
Yeah.
I remember a good few years ago being very busy and very overwhelmed and just struggling to understand why I seemed to be permanently up what I called on the back foot. And then I remember doing such a simple exercise, and it was so obvious, and it is so obvious still, but it means I think the word, I'm not sure if you said it, Marianna, was cull your calendar. So I wrote out, I had like a month view, and I wrote down all of the things that I wanted to do, that I was planning on doing. And I realized when I'd filled in the month that I needed to give up my work just so that I could get everything done that I wanted to do apart from work. And it highlighted that importance of going big picture with what I call my jugglers. So I'm ruthless is the word I use with the diary. And I will sometimes say yes to things, and then there comes a point where I'll only have so many evening things because I don't care after a certain number of evenings in the week. I want to be in my pajamas in bed or watching telly or something. And it's to be ruthless with your diary and chuck the stuff that might be either ego or fluff, and only keep the stuff. And that's easier when I can be in charge of a good bit of my diary. It's harder, as you say, Marianna, if someone else is chucking stuff into your diary for you. That makes it harder.
Yeah. Definitely. That's a good one. That was the tactic where Jake Knapp went to Sarah Cooper, who used to work in Google, and then she became the comedian and really successful person. And her advice was that she designed her day in her calendar like yourself. You're already at advanced level, Ashley, obviously. She just blocked in the stuff that she wanted to do, and then she would reshuffle and she would change and she would adapt, and say her best writing time was in the morning, and so always the morning. This time is blocked for everything else. And that was the time that author realized that actually there is enough time in the day. If you look at it, there is enough time to do what is important. And he adopted something similar in his own life as much as he could at that time. Before that, he was working in Google. He obviously couldn't. But as soon as he left, he adopted the same tactic of designing your day and book in your calendar. Yeah.
You have to say it's a massive compliment to the Choose Make Book Club that it survived the diary call.
I'm not in my pajamas in bed.
Thanks for giving us the thumbs up.
Good spot. Yeah.
Well, you know yourself, Declan, I'm sure. There's so many things you can go to. Genuinely, there's so many things. But for me, you see what learning is really important, and having people ask questions that I haven't thought of. That's really important to me. So yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try and make it here every Tuesday that I can, because it's important. Literally, that's what it is,
But Ashley, I'm finding there's so many Zoom sessions. I could fill my week with just attending webinars, because I'm like you. I'm just so interested, and
yeah. And that's the other thing. I sometimes say, I just have to say no. Because. And that's that balance, isn't it, between, I call it being greedy for stuff and actually just having sometimes to have some time where you're not sitting looking at something, or where you go, do you know what, that's enough, actually, I'm just not going to do that.
Exactly.
I was just reminded of a personal calendar story. If I don't know, we're running late, but I ride a motorcycle and I do these There's a club called the Iron Butt Association. They're an American crowd, and they do long distance motorcycle rides. It's up to you to do it yourself, but in Ireland they have a good few. One of them was a circuit of Ireland, so it's all around Ireland in one go, in less than 24 hours. And they got rid of it because it was too easy with new roads and motorways and the New Ross bypass. It wasn't challenging enough, so they said we're cutting this off at the end of September last year, and. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it before they cut it off. So I collected my bike from a service, and I dropped into my office. I said, the bike is ready. I'm going to go into the office, check my calendar for the coming month. And I checked my calendar, and the only time I could do it was that day, that time. So I got on my bike and went around Ireland.
Wow.
that minute.
Oh, God.
Brilliant. Love it.
Making your priority matter.
How long did it take you, John?
It takes about 19 hours.
Oh.
that is serious tough butt stuff.
The book and that, John, I think as well, right? So you could.
Yeah, but it kind of it woke me up to my calendar. I was like, Jesus, that means I don't. Now I know 24 hours is a long time, so you have to kind of in a month you have to pick it out. But I just got up off my desk, got on my bike, and rode around Ireland.
Well done.
And wouldn't we love to be able to do that now?
I know.
No.
Yeah. But talking about the priorities and making time in the world of so many Zoom calls, webinars that you can fill your calendar so easily, I am really enjoying this book club, Rob. Credit to you. Like you're this kind of a tribe of people. I'm getting the interesting, engaging evenings with really hearing great questions and the great books reviews. So I'm certainly committed to make time.
I share the credit with Dec as always. So no, it's great to have you along. Dec deserves as much as I do. Definitely tonight when I wasn't able to start to get on in time. So it's great. It's great to.
Well done, guys.
Do you notice how smoothly it all started? And it was actually very.
It's true.
I'm going to set up an alternate Tuesday night book club on every other second Tuesday just to go rivals.
Great Republic. Fantastic.
Come here, will we wrap? And just before we do, who's up next?
We have a slot, don't we? There's nobody booked in for 2 weeks.
Nobody booked in for 2 weeks' time. Any new takers? Any volunteers? Voluntols?
Jeff,
Nobody.
shortly.
No pressure.
Well, this was a hard act to follow, I must say, this week.
Yeah. Very well done, Marianne. It was excellent.
Well done,
Really
Marianne.
great. Really great.
Great
Brilliant.
one. And we let the dust settle. No doubt we'll have a few. We had a couple of potential hackers again tonight, Dec, right? There was somebody trying to join, you said earlier on.
There was what was his name?
Johnny Thompson or something.
Johnny Thompson, and there was another Carlos Vega was trying to join, and that didn't really sound like an Irish surname, so I was kind of going, there's a bit, it sounded a bit sus, so we picked them out. They weren't on the guest list. They weren't on the guest list.
There was some Agatha Africa registered as well. I was waiting to see if that person joined, but they didn't. We didn't let them in. So,
it's exclusive list, Rob, an exclusive list of them.
You recorded from the start, Dec, did you?
I did indeed.
Oh, cool. Very good. Yeah,
we'll get that out at the end.
Yeah, sure. Send it over to me and I can pop it out over the next few days. And we'll no doubt have somebody keen to share their story in a couple of weeks.
Super.
Stuff.
Thank you, guys.
Hey folks, thanks so much for listening to the show. If you enjoyed it, could you please consider helping me extend the reach of the podcast that a little bit further? You can do that in a number of ways. The number one way is to subscribe on your app of choice. This helps me with the chart ranking, leading to more folks stumbling across the podcast and checking it out. You could also repost it on your social media channels. Any of them would be great. And maybe even tell a friend in person or over the phone. Pick up the phone, give them a call and tell them about the 1% Better podcast. Tell them about this episode or one that you've heard in the past. Any will do. I would really appreciate it. In the last year, we set up a 1% Better Slack community, which you can join for free and interact with me and other members of the community and improve through holding each other accountable and sharing monthly challenges. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. I'm into season 4 of this incredible journey, and the more of these interviews and solo shows that I research, record and share, the better I believe that they get, and more loaded with actionable takeaways that you can learn from. I know I've learned so much from it so far, and it's always really, really fulfilling and rewarding when I hear from you on what you took from it. So do reach out, rob@robofthegreen.ie. And of everybody that listens, 90% listen and enjoy, but only around 10% actually take action, write down takeaways and put them into practice. I am convinced that if we can move that number a bit higher, the listeners will not only make steps forward towards their goals, but they will be more fulfilled and happy and better. Change doesn't happen overnight. It is hard, but it's all about taking the first step, whatever that is for you. You can absolutely do this. Make a plan, be deliberate, take action. Don't overreach. Start with those small incremental improvements, and over time you will see great progress. It's all in the pursuit of betterness. So again, thank you so much for listening. Good luck and stay safe.